What's happening? This is Ryan Dawkins, and you're tuning in to The Loft.
Has brought out the best of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Loft. If you guys are new here, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you're not new, welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest with us today. You may have seen him doing trivia at Urban Saloon on Mondays like I have for The Bachelor. Really good friend of mine now. You've been able to connect, come and see him do his thing. And, you know, there's a lot to talk about today. I'm really excited to have you on. You have an event company called Secchio Experiences. You do trips, events, tailgates, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, virtual events. A lot of stuff going on here. Ladies and gentlemen, Kody Pasqualichio.
Sounded perfect.
Okay, got it? Nice,
Yep,
nice,
perfect.
nice. All right, dude, yeah, but I just want to say I appreciate you coming on the pod. So for everyone who doesn't go to Urban Saloon on Mondays, so Kody runs the trivia night and the Bachelor watch parties, actually. He does the Bachelor watch parties every single Monday. And, you know, being able to learn about him. He's actually best friends with Joey from The Bachelor. They started, what was it, the frat called?
Pike.
At Westchester?
Pike at Alpha, yeah. Pike for sure.
Yeah, but you do a lot of great events. You do a lot of good stuff, and I'm just excited to chop it up with you. And because, you know, obviously, Clubs on 5, as a DJ, I love doing events, so I love anything, you know, anytime I could talk about, like, you know, events and event planning and stuff like that, I love it. So
Definitely.
Thanks for coming on, Kody. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you went to Westchester, correct?
Yeah.
And then what did you study?
Communications.
Nice.
I had to pick up a minor, though, to stay an extra year. I did being a comm major, you had to take a language. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm Italian. I might as well stick this out another year. So I minored in Italian. I haven't used any of it since, but comm major was perfect for me.
And so what made you want to start a company like that, an event plan? What drew you to that industry?
Yeah, it's weird because if you split Secchio in half, it's half travel agency, half events. So I pretty much planned all my friends' social life. I was like, I might as well start making money off this because I was building relationships with, I love to travel too. So the travel end of it, we were, you know, not only I was planning the flights, where we were staying and everything, it's also like what we were doing too. Yeah. So I built relationships with these excursion companies and businesses at other places. And then, you know, the event side, I do like to party myself. I always loved going out and being with friends and family and everything. So started the tailgate side of it where I was getting my own tables and eventually added that to the business as well. So I think the Bachelor, Bachelorette aspect of it was definitely where it started. Yeah. But then it's just snowballing to a lot of different things.
That's awesome. Congrats, man. You have a team with you, or is it something you do on your
own? Pretty much my own.
Nice.
I do have some kids in our fraternity that, if you want to call it interns, they help with the tailgates. Because the tailgates, you know, you do them too. There's a lot of people that you have to deal with, and it's a lot on my own. Yeah. Other things I only trust myself doing, but something like that, you know, it is nice to have them. My parents are retired, so they'll come sometimes, and I don't pay them anything, which is nice. Yeah. But they're bored and they love doing it, so they think I'm like they're like my slave, but they are having so much fun with it.
Exactly. And so talk to me a little about your tailgates. When do you do them? Where do you do them? Like, what kind of tailgates you do?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, the one bad thing about it is really it's only when I'm available for right now. Like, I'm picking the dates that, you know, work for me in that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you look at the fall, that's something that is a priority with the Eagles and that. But in the summer, I try to do as many Phillies as I can. I try to gear more towards the weekends. Football is obviously an every week thing, just the home games, but you know, I try to make that schedule. My personal life is so busy too. So I try to make it work where I am not like, you know, people don't forget about it if I haven't done it in a little bit. And then, you know, the concerts that come through, especially down by the stadiums and that, it's nice.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to you soon about I'm planning to work a while on tailgate, so maybe get you in on that.
Oh yeah.
But so talk to me about The Bachelor as well. So you started hosting these Bachelor Mondays at Urban, and I've never been someone who watched The Bachelor. I was actually one of the shit talkers of The Bachelor. Yep. And then my girl told me about it, and I was like, yeah, let's pop out. So we went, and you had like music playing, you had like this bingo going on, and then watching The Bachelor, I was like, okay, like it's like you had it all like loud on the TVs, and like, and I've been able to see the progression and growth of it. and it's really cool to see. So like, you know, like how did that even come about? And like, and I would love to dive into your friendship with Joey as well, like him being the Bachelor, and it's like a very cool thing to like to pick your brain on. So how did that whole thing start at Urban?
So I mean, I've been doing trivia in Philly now, not even at Urban. I'd say around maybe April of last year. So this whole thing is new to my business as well with the trivia nights. I've lived somewhat across the street from Urban for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I did build a great relationship with them. I do the bar crawls mostly in Fairmount, and again, got to know the servers, all the workers, the owners, and everything. So then I eventually got my name and got my foot in the door there with trivia. And it's actually funny looking back at it. I think I started trivia only like 2 weeks prior to The Bachelor, but they know my reputation there. And I did trivia, like I said, I do them throughout Fairmount.
Yeah.
So when it kind of was all happening at like the same time.
Yeah.
I did like a trial run with them for trivia because my schedule, I wanted to make sure I wanted to make sure everyone was, where I was needed to be at places. Right. So I didn't want to screw anyone over or anything. And yeah, I host watch parties at Urban for like big sporting games. So again, we all knew Joey was on The Bachelorette. He's from the area. They got to know that I was friends with them, and our group of friends always comes to Urban. Joey does love Urban too. One of the owners, Tim, just kind of came up with the idea. I think we came up with it ourselves. Like it was like an idea that we didn't think would get to where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice place for people to come get out on a weeknight, especially for a bar too. They're more obviously popular on the weekend, more packed on the weekend. So it was nice, a little change of pace. And we started off like, getting ideas of getting vendors involved, like maybe some drink specials, things like what we do at the drink specials, but a brewery or someone might have a drink that caters to this. But we really didn't even go with that in the beginning. We kind of just started off slow, and then social media. And I think me and just the way we handle the night, I think it just kept growing each week.
Oh yeah, and that dude, like I said, to get me to go out on a Monday night is very impressive.
Especially watching The Bachelor. You're not just going out on a Monday.
Going out on a Monday watching The Bachelor, it's great, dude. And like I think you built a really good community with it, and I think it's the way your personality is on the microphone, having bingo, having great food, great drinks. It's a great combination of everything. And then watching the girl's favorite show, and I saw you've had a few clips go viral as well, which is really cool.
It's crazy.
Like everyone's reaction to, that sounds so weird and lame saying this, but like hopefully everyone that's watching this is someone who like goes to Urban. So like how about when Maria got the boot? Everyone was like, what? And then that's so funny. Someone was recording the reaction. Of it was crazy. But yeah, and so like in your friendship with Joey, so like I'm curious as to, because you have more of an inside than anyone essentially. So like someone like him, how has Joey's life changed since being on the show?
I mean, internally, like himself, I say this all the time, people loved him on The Bachelorette and are loving him now is because he is exactly who he was, like right now, who he was before. It's obviously like, just little things of like, he'll text us of more famous people kind of like reaching out to him and tagging him and things. I've been with him multiple times now since the filming of The Bachelor, the airing of The Bachelorette, and now The Bachelor. He is going noticed, definitely. And I always say, like, when he was on The Bachelorette, he was a contestant, and I'm a huge Survivor fan. So I always like say, like, when you get casted for another season, he wasn't like, this show's about him now. It's not like he's on the Survivor All-Stars. This show's about him. So this is a whole different ball game. And I just think that he's handling every relationship on that show perfect, and that's the overall goal for him to find someone. And everyone that has gone since, I think could say that he's been great with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and the show has been like very real, which is like I said, this is my first time watching the show. So
it's my second. Well, The Bachelorette, if you're gonna count that first.
And you watched, and it's been very real, and like and he's just comes off as a really nice guy and a great dude, and like and he was on he was on The Bachelorette, correct? Yeah, and he made that to the end or something.
Final two, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
And then so what happened with that? Like,
so it's weird. Like as a friend watching, you're kind of. you know, he was going to be, you know, a front runner, I think, in the beginning, especially the edit, how they had him. This is back on The Bachelorette. You know, so watching it, my family friends, my mom has put me in all these group texts with her friends and everything. So I actually text a lot in it too. So I'm involved with it now. So they're kind of like getting me in the mix of everything because I didn't watch it either.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to do well, obviously. If this is when he was on The Bachelor, if this is who he wanted, I want that for him.
Yeah.
But a part of me in the back of my head is like, wow, maybe there's a chance with how much like positive feedback he's getting, how many people love him. Maybe there's a chance he could be The Bachelor. And it's so funny because when The Bachelorette ended, we all found out, you know, he didn't win. He didn't end up with her. And about 20 minutes, give or take a couple minutes, but 20 minutes later, he got announced as The Bachelor. So, you know, my friends, there's a video that we have of all of us jumping when we finally heard.
No way.
Because we didn't know. We knew there was a chance, but we didn't know.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because we were so happy. But in the back of my head, I'm like, wait a minute, like one of our good friends just went through a breakup pretty much.
Yeah.
And we're not there for him. Like, because we didn't know anything. And this is obviously filmed prior. So a hard time for him, especially being on a television show.
Right.
We weren't there for him.
Right.
Well, not that we weren't able to.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny that transition kind of happened really quick from him just doing that, going right from The Bachelorette to The Bachelor now. So a week like went by and I texted him. I'm like, are you okay though? Like, I know we're so happy for this, but how are you doing with what just happened?
Right.
You know, so it's cool though. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I always, like I said, it's such a cool situation that you're in, is like being able, and we'll get into the Secchio Experiences in a second, but I know a lot of people are curious about like just Joey and then a lot of the inner workings of like having a friend and like being a part of that circle that like is very connected to a very popular show.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, like, dude, does he like show a lot of emotions off camera more than you would say on camera? Like, there's things he has to like hold back, I guess, because obviously at the camera, the show's very personal and films everything. But like, I'm sure you get a lot more insight on like certain situations.
Yeah, we have a group text. So while I'm at Urban doing all this, we do have a group text with all our friends, and he is texting us some things like, you know, our guys are chiming in that, which also none of them have ever watched either. So we're all like Bachelor pros now. You know, we're like trying to comfort, like, you know, we're there for him for anything if he needs, if he is feeling anything from, you know, this exposure and what's happening on the show. And back to like that video blew up at Urban because of that Maria elimination. But in a way too, I'm looking at it as a friend too, where it's like, he might get hate for this now.
Right.
You know, it's getting exposure to what we're doing at Urban and, you know, everyone being involved in that event. But in a way too, he's getting some hate, got some hate from it, you know, and if you watch The Woman Tell All last night, like, you get social media and all comments in that, it's no one's going to be perfect and everyone is going to have something to say, whether it's good or bad. So in like those kind of sense, it's like, I'm very happy for the success of what's going on at Urban, but I also want to keep him on my mind as well. You know, it's
such a double-edged sword, I feel like, because on the one side it's entertainment and it's everything, but like all the other side, it's a human being and it's a human beings, and like that's something I noticed that became so real in the show is like when the final four, like in the beginning, like it's a lot, like 15 girls, whatever, but like when it gets to them final four, you build the feelings, the relationships. And you feel like you're like with them, and then you got to see them with other girls and stuff. And like, it's a very human thing. And for Joey to even go through as well, like, how does he feel about all of the attention that's been coming to him and all, everything surrounded by this season of the show?
I mean, looking at him, you would not know anything is different. Like, if I always joke, I'm trying to get on Survivor and I keep doing it every year.
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't be able to contain my excitement, and he's definitely excited. But I think that just shows on the type of guy he is too. Right. Where he's very humble, and, you know, he's keeping these same friendships and relationships that he's had prior to this, and definitely continue them in the future too. So yeah.
Nice, yeah. And I locked in a date with Jerv. I'm gonna forward it to you. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
are interested and you can make it, I would love for you to co-host it if
Yeah.
you can make it.
Yeah.
But no. So let's talk about you, man. Let's talk about the Secchio experience. Let's talk about your upbringing. So like, when you started Secchio Experience, like what was your goal going into it?
So I graduated Westchester, 2015, the winter session, and then I interned. I had my lease pretty much till the spring. It was like my party semester. I interned with the comm department. I took an event planning class, and I had a great relationship with my professor. But then I actually moved. I'm originally from the Scranton area. So I did move back home, and my family's in the meat packing business, meat and packing and distribution. So it was weird. I know I was I think more immature, obviously. I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew, in a way, I feel like I always knew that it was a fallback for me. Eventually when I did pretty well in college of like my major and my involvement with the fraternity, and I was a tour guide as well. So I definitely saw more potential, I think, in me.
Mm-hmm.
And working with my family was an experience.
Yeah.
What that type of business was, I just knew I didn't belong there.
Right.
In a way, and you hate to say that.
Yeah.
Because it is your family, and it's like when I was born, my parents took me there first before I went home. So, it's been a part of my whole life. But when Secchio started, so I started, like I said, 2019 of January. I went part-time with my family May of 2020. And then obviously that's all COVID and everything. So put a little damper on everything I kind of did then.
Right.
But then I left December of 2020. So I don't want to say it started off as a hobby because, I was trying to make an effort into this.
Yeah.
Going part-time. I was working 50 hours with my family, and I wanted to give it a chance. So I think I was part-time like 30 for 3 days. I was still like 30 hours, so like, yeah, it's like part-time in that, but still I'm putting in a lot of hours with that still.
Right.
So I was just learning. And I think, I was blessed because my father's role in the business was more on like the office side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already good at, I think, the talking and the planning and the events and everything. That was a whole other level too that I was trying to learn.
Right.
That I'm glad I learned from him and my grandmother. She's 91 years old. She still goes to work.
Congrats.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
she goes 2 days a week still.
Wow.
And I was learning. I worked with her a lot too. Not only 2 generation gap, we're 3. So we butted heads a lot. We still had like paper invoicing and everything. So I was coming up with ideas and that. But yeah, I think just those steps I took going from doing both to then part-time and then eventually taking that leap to go full-time on myself kind of,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's weird that this December, obviously, I mean, we have the whole year, but it's about to be 4 years. It's just over 3 right now.
Crazy, man.
That, I really haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that, because a lot of people are nervous to take that kind of leap.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I respect a lot that you did was you made both happen. Because eventually when you start something, like, it does start as a hobby. And if it ends up growing and you end up falling in love with it, then that's when it becomes a real job, you know? And a lot of times I feel like people take the leap when they're not ready. And like I'm sure you had some funds saved up. You had, obviously you had your job with your family business, but then eventually finding the confidence to take the leap. What made you finally take that leap? Was there something that specifically happened where you're like, yo, I got to go now? Like, was something that happened or?
Yeah. It's tough because that time was also very scary for something I was doing.
Right.
I think it was one of those situations where if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I didn't come right to Philly right away. I'm sure my friends telling me what the pandemic was like when they were in the city. I don't think I would have benefited that much at that time. I moved June of 21, and that's like when the outside seating started happening at all these places, and like those things were getting lifted slowly. So I think it was all timing too. But yeah, I think it was just, and I feel like the pandemic put a damper on obviously a lot of people,
everything,
you know, and it's kind of, you're looking at life a whole new way now too. So again, I think the timing of it and, you know, it just felt right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you obviously sounds like you picked up a lot of knowledge and skills along the way. I'm curious as to what your family has instilled in you that has really helped move you to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because I'm like exactly like my parents, and I think I found a way to, when I was there, obviously I didn't have the business, so I was trying to use what I was good at. That's not a field that usually I would see myself going to.
Yeah.
But you know, with social media and like building, I feel like I have a creative mind more than a like, what do we say, intelligent mind? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what side of brain that is.
We'll say creative in business. I guess we'll just use it like that.
Yeah, I definitely am more of on the creative side with it. You know, they've taught me so much of just be myself, and if I want something, go get it. And, you know, they just support me so much in it that, again, like as a parent looking at it, I'm at the comfortable choice with working with them, and it's, you know, hours and great pay. But, you know, for them to even my dad was kind of the reason why I left. Like, that sounds bad. He was the reason I stayed as long as I did. Yeah. But you know, he's the one that, you know, I think we both decided like it's time to push it and see what we got.
Yeah, you outgrow it essentially, not in a negative way, but in a way where it's like, okay, like what's next? And like, and something I'm beginning to learn as a fellow entrepreneur is like, you're always good as the last thing you've done, and it's like, what's next? Like that hunger that's in you, and that sounds like what Secchio Experience was. And what is the Secchio Experience?
So the name itself is actually in Italian. It's slang for bucket list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had KP Tours and Events, my initials, obviously. And that same professor, so I started January 19, October of 18 is kind of when the behind the scenes stuff was going. I don't want to just say I'm starting a business. I got no website, no social media, no name. So I'm, you know, that the beginning of like after Labor Day into like that fall, all that stuff was happening. I reached out to her for advice, and I said, you know, I'm thinking KP Tours and Events, and in a nice way, she's like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. So I'm like, wait, I thought this was my business, like not yours. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she knew I was Italian. She knew the vibe of what this business was going to be. So we looked up in some slang. It could mean it. You know, I'm thinking we kind of looked at like where my family originated. And, you know, that's what kind of how, and it just stuck. Her reasoning was, we don't want people to think that you're running this by yourself. Yeah. And I made like that comment of, well, I am running it by myself. And she's like, yeah, but they don't have to know that. Yeah. And when she Googled, she was like, Secchio Extravaganza, Secchio Events, Secchio Experiences. And it just stuck. So, and it's funny because my last name being Pasqualichio, people think it's part of my last name. Yeah. Only similarities are it's Italian and it ends in EO. Yeah. That's the only thing. And then, you know, developing my logo, I didn't really want a plane on it. I didn't want...
I'll take a look at it right now.
Yeah, I didn't want like a party, whatever you want to call it, you know, because it is it's half and half. So I think the O of it, the location, you know, on a map, that Secchio Experience could be whatever. Yeah. And if your Secchio Experience is going to a bachelor watch party, you know, I'm hoping that I could be the guy to help that. Yeah. If your bucket list is Secchio Experiences to go to Spain, I'm hopefully there for that too.
Nice. And so part of I'm trying to understand the workings of it. So you kind of help curate the experience for people, essentially.
Yeah. So the scary thing of what I do and everything is people could do it on their own. So I have to use that creative mind again, where it's worth it to go through someone like me. Right. It's worth your time. I mean, you always ask like, what's worth more, your time or money? I'm hoping that, you know, they want their convenience, and I'm the guy for that. And I, you know, have a good experience with the events. I have good experience with traveling. So I try to be the guy for everything. And if it's the travel part, it's like I said before, not only just flying, not only just where you're staying, it's what you're doing. It's where you're going there. You know, all those little details. It's getting you the best table at a dinner reservation. You know, it's those little things where, you know, I think there's spontaneous parts of trips that are great.
Yeah.
I'm never the guy that's like 7:01, we're a minute late. Like there's things that I don't want people to go on a trip and they can't do something because we didn't do it ahead of time. But I want there to be some availability for them and, you know, stuff that, oh, wow, I didn't even, you know, maybe not know that they offered this, or wow, this restaurant looks great. We couldn't get a reservation, but let's go on a day during the week or something.
Right.
So I try to, you know, get everything done for them, that everything we needed to do prior is done for them.
Interesting. Okay. So so it's convenience, and also it's like you're squeezing everything you can out of a certain place.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that you like to travel. Is that something you love and that you're passionate about?
Yeah, it's like people don't understand. Not even like financially wise, just like my well-being wise.
Yeah.
How I just got back from Chicago yesterday morning, and then go right to Urban for that. I leave for Key West this Friday.
Oh, nice.
I want to see it all, and especially Scranton. Like I love Scranton. I have Scranton tattoo,
but it's not
everything.
Miami.
Yeah, it's not, definitely not Miami. You know, and I think taking that leap too, business wise, obviously coming to Philly, I just like to see and do everything I can. So yeah, I have been to my fair share of places, and again, back on, you know, 5 years ago, that's kind of why I took this, you know,
Right.
little leap here and started it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so do you have a, like, I don't like to ask what's your favorite, but is there any more experiences or places you traveled that really stood out to you?
Yeah, so my friends joke with me all the time that I do have a top 5 in the U.S., and they say that every time I'm talking to someone, it changes, which is 100% not true at all. They like make up, nothing towards Belmar, New Jersey. This is the first time I've been going to Belmar this summer.
Really?
Had a blast. I usually go to the South Jersey beaches, but I'm saying like Belmar is my favorite place in the country. All this stuff. They like bust my balls about it.
Yeah.
My number 1 is San Diego, specifically Pacific Beach. I don't know if you're ever there.
No, I used to live in California in 2018 for an internship through Temple, but I've never been to San Diego.
Yeah,
so.
it's Pacific Beach. Like I feel like growing up, I had like the long blonde hair. I like tried to be a surfer guy. I was always at Hollister, so I just knew like Cali fit me. And my buddy, I went twice. I went with my family a couple years back, and then I went with my buddy in Pacific Beach, especially like you know, that's where I belong, I think. I was scared, you know, at that time I wasn't doing trivia, so I was fully remote. I was there Wednesday to Monday, and I really didn't have anything till Friday, and I was going to change my flight to just work there all week. I was nervous that I was not going to come home.
Really?
You know, because I loved it. And I loved my buddy that's out there, and and Key West is at my top 2.
Key West?
Yeah, bro. I've never been to Key West, and now this is my 3rd time in 1 year going.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, I mean, have you ever been to like Nashville and Austin?
Yeah.
You know, live music. Everyone loves that. And I don't even want to say country. It's more like the live music. It's like that by the water.
Yeah.
You know, all the bars are right next to each other. Who doesn't love Florida?
Yeah.
You know, the weather and that. And yeah, it's my 3rd time going.
That's sick.
It's the best.
Is that a move you would ever make? Like, would you ever move outside of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 2 places that San Diego would obviously be a dream. Thinking realistically with my family, I'm very close to my family, and I have to be. I can't think about just myself now. I have to think about the business, and I think that'd be great. Maybe 5 years back, if I, you know, started and I'm at that age. There was 2 that I not jokingly, but if it ever happened, I would think Charlotte, North Carolina would be something I would consider. One of my best friends moved there right after college. I spent a lot of time there. It's a young city. So I think keeping it still East Coast, or, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm expanding to like that area now, where people that are going to Charlotte are coming from all over too. You know, it's a fast growing city. And then, because I've been there, and that's why I thought that. And then another one honestly would have been Chicago.
Really?
And this was my first time going. So I'm saying that not even ever being there.
Really?
And Chicago definitely jumped up to the top 5 this week.
Really?
Well, I mean, St. Patrick's Day, obviously, in that, but it's a cool city. And I think, again, the same kind of mentality going to like some place like Charlotte, I feel it would be the same thing. You know, expanding. You don't want to go. I didn't want to go too close, but I don't want to go too far either. You know.
What's your? So I'm curious for Secchio Experiences. What's your? You have a mission or a main goal that you have? Like something you have on your whiteboard or something like that you really look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, my overall big goal, I always say, is I want everyone in this world to know what Secchio Experiences is.
Yeah.
I don't care how I do it. If it's hosting bachelor parties, if it's bachelor watch parties, if it's planning trips, that's obviously everyone's goal. You want to be known. That name is, you know, now I've never even heard of that name in my life. And then a simple Google search, it's my life. Now it is my life.
Yeah.
You know, and then the small goals, I'd love to, you know, have a office building, eventually expand and get these employees that I'm not gonna be able to do this by myself forever.
Yeah.
You know, and talking about expanding and that, I need to find another me. Whether I'm moving or whether someone is going to those places.
Right.
So, you know, I took that step with getting the kids in my fraternity to help with the tailgates and that, you know, more of, I was, you know, working with my family too. I wasn't on the top end of it. I was actually the second youngest out of my family.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, I did have some roles where I was the one in charge. But, you know, I working by yourself and working for yourself is a blessing and a curse.
Right.
You know, so I think taking that little step of having these kids come in and, you know, that's what a fraternity is all about too. Everyone makes fun of it, all that, but I want to be there for, you know, it's good networking for them too. But I think as a boss standpoint, I was maturing in that way, in that role too,
Right.
where I never had like, people worked at our family business, but people are now working for me. This is my life now, you know? So I think having some employees and, you know, just growing both sides of the travel and events, making them bigger, making them more unique.
Right.
Again, like I said earlier, I got to be creative because everything I do, people do on their own, you know, and I think I'm getting there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious as to the growth that you've had. So like, who you were 5 years ago before you started Secchio, like what kind of growth have you seen in yourself in that you know in that past 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, just the overall. It's so funny because I want to say that I started this business in my high school desk, which is kind of true, and I'm still at my desk, but now it's an office at my house. I just say that, you know, the travel side, especially, getting the even more experience. I could be someone on the phone calling. I'm the leader of the friend group planning these trips, but you know, no one really cares about that. Like on a business standpoint, these companies and excursions and that. So I think I've developed a lot of great relationships on that end where, you know, I'm traveling more. I'm getting more exposure to different things that's helping me out for clients and that. But the experience that I needed to get, you know, helps the business too. You know, getting my, you just want to say a license, like travel agent. You know, I had to take steps for that. I can't just say, hey, I love to travel. Can I be a travel agent?
Right.
You know, I needed that experience with whether it's a excursion company or a hotel chain or whatever. You know, I needed to build those relationships to get kind of where I'm at with it. And, you know, I think on the event side, if I stayed in Scranton, I do think I could have been that guy, like the guy, but I think it was only going to get me so far. I think that leap of faith moving to Philly too, it's just, I was already an outgoing person, but I feel like I've gotten more confidence being in a city like this. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There's things that, you know, kind of go into these events and everything. So I think on that scale, I'm kind of the face in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's more the name, but I'm also the face too.
Yeah.
So I think if it's possible to get more friendly and more, you know, personable and everything, I think I succeeded.
I mean, you got a grown man to come to Urban to watch Bachelor on Mondays, so I think you're doing a pretty good job.
Right.
And so you talked a little bit about like the confidence side. Was there ever a point you didn't have the confidence in yourself? And if not, how did you really combat that and grow out of that?
I mean, I've always been a confident person. You know, I've always been involved with everything growing up and all this stuff. I think when I was working with my family and we would have like a food show or a client, a potential client comes in and that, I kind of, you know, would steer back a little bit. And I think that's also what I realized that wasn't my passion. And I don't, like I said before, I'm never afraid to talk to anyone. I love meeting new people. Yeah. Everything. But I think this passion that I have for my business is perfect fitting. You know, it makes sense, and it's helped me again get to even a level that I didn't know I could be at. Right. Being by myself, I'm working by myself. I'm also my worst enemy. You know, you look back and you think like, all right, maybe a month went by and I didn't have that many trips, maybe inquired coming out and that people reaching out. And I doubt myself so many times, you know, and it's scary because where is that fallback that I had coming out of college? Right. You know, I keep saying, this is my life now. So I have good days and bad days, and I try to keep a front at all times. You know, it's tough. It's a lot of work. Yeah. You know, I'm the marketing, I'm the front desk, I'm the accountant. Yeah. You know, I'm the reception, like everything, you know, and it's at times you could doubt yourself. For sure. And it's funny because like I recently started going through that. Like everyone, and the way I've been looking at doubt is like, I don't take it as a bad thing. To me, I take doubt as there's still more room for you to grow. Because I think the second you become content with what you're doing is when you stay stagnant and you don't grow. Yep. If you're not growing, you're not getting better, the whole nine. But yeah, I find doubt, and I channel doubt in a different way than I feel like most people do, just because like, I don't know if you do this as well, but the one thing I always look back at is like where I was 2 years ago or 4 years ago or whatever. Like I always try to like be grateful for what I have and the opportunities that I get. And it's like, the more you turn it into that and turn that doubt into like learning where you were before, or realizing where you were before, like that's where the real growth comes from, and like the appreciation for what you have right now. And so with that being said, what are you looking forward to coming up? It's so crazy because again, like you said, looking back, like the main reason the first reason I started this business was these kind of group trips where I thought I'd succeed. I always know what the fun things to do are, and you know, all that stuff. And then the pandemic, again, I was working with my family, so I did have that on the happening as well. The adjustments I've had to like, you know, do and adapt. You know, I was doing virtual team buildings during the pandemic all over the world, actually. That's crazy. You know, and I was still doing what I loved, but in a complete different environment that I ever thought I would. And then these little things that like I do come up with, you know, with the trips and trying to stay fresh and creative, it's exciting. And I just think now snowballing into trivia, I'm doing them 4 nights a week now. Yeah, you know, including like the Bachelor watch party and that. So I guess like I'm just excited for also the unknown too, where it might not make sense, but it does. You know, like I tell everyone all the time, I can't believe I'm saying out loud that I'm hosting Bachelor watch parties. But look at what it's done in a simple like 9 weeks. Right. You know, we went from, I always go off of the bingo cards. I had 50 to start. And now I have 200 and I can't keep them all. They're all gone. Yeah. You know, so these little things that like just keep coming up to me, like, you know, getting these, you know, opportunities and everything. Is the word. You know, and it's exciting, and yeah, I'm liking my day-to-days more and more during Bachelor season. I don't have those Sunday scaries anymore. Right. I'm excited to get out there. I'm doing trivia and doing these Bachelor watch parties. it sounds weird, but it's been the best part of my business so far.
Yeah.
I have my group of friends, my family, and my circle, and I do know a lot of people. I would, I'm very friendly.
It's part of your job, and you have an amazing personality for that. You're built for it.
It's so cool each week not knowing who's coming in to trivia. This person might be doing their honeymoon, and I was at Urban for the World, not World Series, the playoffs last year, and there was a couple behind us, and we, it's so crowded there for games like that, and we just kept bumping, and we became a friendship. I started doing their honeymoon, and I just planned their honeymoon.
Wow.
I was in Wildwood and with a friend in Airbnb. The upstairs had a separate unit. I'm like, hey, you guys want to play Flip Cup? Like, come down and play with us. I planned their honeymoon.
That's so sick,
so it's the unknown and what's, again, from these trivia nights and these new kind of twist of events I'm doing. It's just so cool and it's so exciting.
Yeah, that's like so cool to hear, and that's like the exact reason why I wanted you on the pod. Because I feel like as a fellow, like you're an entrepreneur, man. Like, and you're someone who has opportunities and takes opportunities, and like the beautiful thing about what you're doing is like you took an opportunity that you didn't know what was going to come from it, and like it's cool to go to the Urban on Mondays because of you, like what you've done and what you and Urban have done as a partnership, and like the way I look at it is, the best entrepreneurs are the ones who take the opportunities and turn it into 15 different ones. Yeah. Like you took you're doing trivia 4 days a week. You're doing trivia at Urban, and that turns into you connecting with people and then building your business up, planning honeymoons. And like, it's just someone who takes opportunities and takes what life gives them and makes the most of it. And that's like the coolest shit ever to me. Yeah. And we'll send it off on this, but I want to know, as someone who took a leap, like I said, you're working your family business. You could have been there for the rest of your life. Yeah. And that's what writing is on the wall for a lot of people like that in family businesses. And you taking the leap, doing your own thing. What is some advice you would give to someone who is in the same limbo you were in during that time?
Yeah, I think kind of what I said before, you have to trust your gut, I think in some ways, and you have to break out of your shell a little bit. And I think about this all the time, that I was done on the week, like the Monday where I was full time with my business. We've talked about doubt, you're going to doubt yourself, but bet on yourself, and stay true to yourself about everything. And I think I'm so passionate about what I do. It's because I love it. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know.
That's
I think
sick.
that,
No, I think it's great, dude. It's like I can resonate with that. It's like finding your lane, sticking to it, and this, like, the persistence and consistency, dude. Yeah. Like, to me, has been like a huge thing. And like the more you're consistent, the more opportunities come, and that's exactly what you've been doing, man. Yeah. And I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm really excited to potentially collaborate with you in the future and still show love at your stuff. And yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Sweet. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Loft. My name is Kevnichols. That's Kody Pasqualichio.
Yeah, perfect. It's close enough.
Kody Pasqualichio.
You're perfect.
All right, sweet, awesome. Well, yeah, I'm when it comes to names and shit, I'm the worst. But all right, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Peace, guys. Peace.